See us, we don't dare for the long run. We don't dare for the matter. Every challenge just make the flavor strong. It make the flavor join better. We be seasoned. Yeah, the grace just dey plenty. We be seasoned. Our story don't sweet like 20. No be child's play, we the lead now. We be seasoned. Future sweet, we don't see them now. Tell them, we be seasoned.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Seasoned. It's your girl, Adjoa. Again, today I'm recording from my car. It's Monday afternoon. I normally record on Sundays, but yesterday I was just not in the mood, to be honest. I wasn't in the mood. I just didn't feel like I was just in a really awkward bum mood yesterday. My brain was working overtime. I just had so many things running through my mind, and I just needed to clear my head out, and I didn't feel like I wanted to talk on my podcast, so I just opted to just wait until today to record. And so yeah, I'm on my lunch break, just so that anybody from work listening to me they don't think I'm using working hours. No, I'm in my car on my lunch break, and I thought I should record about, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about today. But yeah, we just had a long weekend, and coming back to work was rough, all week. I remember on Wednesday, it rained like from 2 a.m. till maybe 8 a.m. in the morning. So I drove to work in the rain. And I know for those of you in like the Western world, it's not a big deal. Like, yeah, we all leave for work we all work when it's time. I mean, regardless of the weather, right? And I'm not saying that in Ghana we don't, but because we have a serious case of flooding in Ghana, so sometimes the roads are not the best. So people tend to take a while to get to work, but I wanted to avoid the traffic and everything, so I drove to work. But my whole point is, I was at around 2 a.m. I said, Lord, this feels nice. Because, I don't know if anybody knows about tropical rain. It just rains different in the tropics than it does in like a more temperate climate. So it's, in a way, so yeah, we do have like massive thunderstorms and what's not, but there's something like, it's just different it's raining in Ghana, and it's just like, I just want to be in bed. It makes you sleep better and all of that. So I said, God, please, Friday is a holiday. Can you let it rain Thursday night leading into Friday, and let it rain until 12 p.m.? Because I had no plans on Friday, but it would have been perfect to just lay in bed longer, either read a book or watch something on my phone instead of just getting out of bed. Like, there'll be an excuse to lay in bed longer. And it didn't rain all weekend, not a drop of rain. And then the rain decides to come Monday at dawn when we had to be up to go to work. And it kind of sucks because, the power went out, and we use a generator at home. So when the power goes out, the generator comes on, but I have to manually switch it from electricity to generator. Like, there's this contraption inside the house. So I had to get out of bed and switch it. But then I was like, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to sleep because the lights might come on and I have to switch it off. So I ended up just staying up until the power came back on. Then my brain said, okay, well, since you're up, let's think about everything you've, stopped thinking about, and let's bring it back up. And so my brain was just like going crazy. So I don't think I fell asleep until like 4 a.m. And then my alarm went off at 5:15. So it's a miracle that I'm still awake. I'm still functioning, but trust me, come come 5 o'clock, I will be running to my car and driving home and just going to edit this episode and try and be in bed by 8:30. So yeah, that's it. But um I think I want to, as if you've been following, you've heard me first talk about, you know, I talked about my health, I've talked about perimenopause, I've talked about um that my divorce to some extent, I think I have. I've also talked about the abuse that I went through in my marriage. And I've also talked about, how some choices I've made and my lack of confidence and self-esteem made me choose certain, people from my past. Not all of them, but some of the men I chose were very questionable, if I had been in a better frame of mind. But I think now I just want to migrate towards life, the choices I'm making differently in my life, right? Um, and I think I'm going to talk about, you know, really properly talk about life after divorce, right? Um, so let me just get into it. From my last episode, I talked about the abuse. A lot of it, as I said, became much, much clearer when, the marriage ended and the way my ex treated me during the process of the divorce. At one point, because he didn't want to go through the whole, rigmarole of filing for a divorce, he initially filed for an annulment, right? And it came as a surprise. There was no discussion, nothing. I just was home one day and I got an email, no, a letter in the mail saying that, he's filed for an annulment, and he was stating that um I'd given him an STD. And then he had written a statement, and the statement pretty much contradicted himself, because he didn't have any reason to file for an annulment, because the marriage was consummated. It wasn't consummated for like almost 2 weeks into our marriage before the marriage was maybe a week and a half until after we got married before the marriage was consummated. But either way, it was consummated. Um, he couldn't use that we married under false pretense or for citizenship, because it's not like I needed British citizenship. So he used STD and saying that I had given him the autoimmune disease I battle, I gave it to him, which is, you can't pass on an autoimmune disease. And so he wrote this very falsified statement, and then I had to respond back to the statement. And I wrote he wrote one and a half, I wrote 7 pages, given a timeline, providing proof, conversations, test results, health, whatever, bank statements, everything, just to prove that his statement is false and that I do not have an STD. And he was very much aware of he said I had an STD and I didn't tell him. And he was very much aware of the fact that I came in with an autoimmune condition. And so, yeah, the nastiness behind it. So I saw a very, very negative, ugly side of him, even more ugly than I saw in the marriage, an ugly side of him after the marriage ended. And the way our divorce would have been really ugly. And I should have penalized him for defamation of character, for so many reasons, wasting my time, having me spend money on a visa, then going ahead and calling the UK embassy and canceling my visa without letting me know that's what he was doing for a visa I paid for. Anyways, I don't want to go into much detail with that. But having said that, when the shame I carried with being a woman who was married for such a short time and then filing for divorce, then for us to go through this nasty divorce, I had so much shame, and I think I've talked about it in the past. But eventually it got to a point where I could not wait for the divorce to happen. When I finally came to terms with that there's no shame in divorce. And I was so and I've always been anti-divorce. I've always been so anti-divorce because I've always believed that there's nothing that you can't work on, right? If this was somebody you truly loved and cared about, you guys can work through anything. And so I always had this viewpoint of like, I just don't understand how you can love so much and then all of a sudden this person becomes your worst enemy. And now I have an understanding why. Because especially when you've been through a very ugly or abusive relationship or marriage, um, and then what happens, sometimes the nastiness becomes more clear and apparent when you're going through a divorce. Then you really see somebody's true character and who they truly are. Um, so it gets to a point where you even stop grieving the label of divorce. You stop grieving being labeled a divorcee, and you almost can't wait to embrace it because it gives you that freedom to redo life again, to correct mistakes from the past, to be free. And for me, divorce became freedom. Freedom from abuse, freedom from a life that would have been nasty. I'm perceiving that it would have been a horrible, horrible, horrible marriage. Freedom from, you know, God knows what he was capable of. And God knows what I was capable of becoming because, eventually you have to go into defense mode. And eventually, God forbid, if he and I had had a physical struggle one day, because he was physically abusing me. God knows what I know the type of temper I can have. I might have just struck him, and God knows who knows where I would have ended up, because I was defending myself. So it became freedom. And I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to be called divorced. I couldn't wait to have the label divorcee, and it's almost like now I'm part of a club of divorced people, because now we can relate. Some of us can't wait to be part of the wives club or the married people's club, but I couldn't wait to be part of the divorced people's club because now you can share your story. It's also signifies that you have come out of something that was destroying you. And I'm not saying that's all people who've been through divorce, that's their experience. But for me, that was my experience that I had survived a nasty point in my life. But I say that to say that I am not someone who shies away from talking about my experience or about my divorce. Um, I'm still a big advocate for marriage. I still believe in marriage. I believe marriage is a beautiful thing, especially when you marry the right person. Um, it's such a beautiful thing. But I also advocate for divorce, if not those pointless ones that happen in Hollywood for the sake of whatever, but the ones that, you realize that, listen, for the sake of our peace of mind, we're better off apart, or it's a survival mechanism. I don't know. But I have no shame talking about it. I freely talk about it, not because I want sympathy, but I want people to understand that, there's life after divorce. Um, yes, I am now back home, and like it gave me a new lease in life. And it's forced me to realize that I can go after anything that I want now. Um, Divorce has also opened my eyes to the areas of my life that I needed to work on. I really needed to work on some parts of me. My self-esteem issues, and I've talked about this before, but I'm just bringing it back. Um, my self-esteem issues, my issues with the HS, even in my career, also gave me confidence into thinking that, hey, now I know the type of guy I need to be not pursuing, but I should be dating or in a relationship with. Um, it's also given me a second chance to like go after the career I want, like goals I want to go after. And I think it's also allowed me, it's opened doors for me. And I think sometimes the person you marry can either elevate you or downgrade you, right? And in my situation, I was spiraling down. I was just going to the bottom of the barrel. And now I feel like the minute my marriage ended, there were doors that have been opening that I don't think would have opened if I had stayed in my marriage. First of all, if I'd stayed in Canada, I don't think those doors would have opened. If I'd moved to the UK, I definitely know those doors would not have opened. I wouldn't have had certain exposures that I'm having. And I'm so blessed to have a boss who is constantly exposing me to places and people that I never would have had the opportunity to see or meet. She's quick to invite me to places and say, hey, there's this thing we're going to, are you interested? And then I'll go with her and stuff like that. So it's been amazing. I don't think I would have had that if I had stayed where I am. And I, especially when it comes to dating, I know there's still parts of me that I'm still working on with that. But I'm also realizing that now when I'm looking at individuals as prospects, there are certain things that I'm not settling for anymore, right? Because I'm like, yeah, as much as it sucks that, okay, this person may not like me in this way, or the situation may not go the way I want it to go. Yeah, it sucks and it hurts, but the heartbreak is not as painful because you're like, you know what? I had the most heartbreaking experience and I survived it. So if liking this person is not working out, yeah, it sucks, it's painful, but I can move on and I will move on, right? I had a friend recently reach out to me, um, saying that, there's somebody that she would like to set me up with. And I was like, sure, like, why not? I'm single. And then so I asked for the photograph of that person, and I didn't receive the photograph. And not that physical matters, but I'm also not going to, let's be real. When you're not settling for less, and physicality is not important. Certain things you can change, but you still need attraction. I'm not going to lie about that. Before, it wasn't even about physical attraction for me. It was like, somebody was nice to me, I'll give this person a chance. But now I'm trying to filter out. And physical makes a difference because if you're not attracted to that person, you're not it's not going to change how you feel. Love is blind is an interesting concept, and we watched it and we've seen people who've immediately fell in love in a pod, and the minute they laid eyes on the person they're talking to, all of a sudden that interest went out the door. So let's not pretend that somebody's physical, you know, doesn't matter. It does. So anyways, um I did ask for a photograph of the person and I didn't get it. And so I reached out to my friend and I said, yo, like, what's up? where's the photograph? And as part of when I was up at like 2 a.m. this morning, I was chatting to my friend, and mind you, my friend lives in a very different time zone as me. So as I was talking to her, she was telling me that, oh, he said he's shy to share his photograph. And he's shy that a woman is trying to set him up. So he didn't think that that's the way he's going to meet his partner. So, or to meet somebody. So he's kind of not really, from what I gather, and I might be mistaken, like, yeah, he's not really interested in going down that road. And I said, I peace out, cool. Like for me, somebody will say like, oh, it's not a red flag or whatever. But I'm just like, all you're doing is sending a photograph. If I see the photograph and I don't fancy you, my friend will just say that, oh, you know what? Somebody else was in the picture. And so she decided to hook up with that person. I know my friend, she's not going to point it out to me and say, oh, because she didn't think you were attractive. So that's why she's not going with you. She would just give an excuse. And vice versa. She could have sent my photograph and he could have been like, and maybe she did, right? I don't know. And he could have seen it and whatever, and maybe she's giving me the PG version. But the whole point is, if the reason is what it is that he's feeling shy, I was like, do I want to be with somebody who is not even, for lack of a better word, and um I'm not shaming him or targeting his manhood, but if he is not brave, let me use this word instead. If he's not brave enough to share his photograph to a complete stranger that most likely he may never run into, right? If nothing came out of it, if we never spoke or whatever, then am I going to be in a situation where I will have to lead all the time and pursue when I just said, you know what, if he's not interested, that's fine, moving on. There is no need to give an explanation why he needs to give me a chance, why we need to meet. Oh, maybe Omi would have said, oh, but he too, okay, so you give him my picture, let him see it, maybe it will motivate him. No, if you cannot even do something as basic as share a picture, and you can even send a picture that is like 5 years old, and that was the last best picture, fine. But if you couldn't even do that for someone to help you out, and your excuses, I didn't think that's how I'm going to meet, then you're not going to be open to certain situations or open to new adventures or new opportunities. And for me, that was just a no. And I'm not saying that he's a bad person, you know, and I'm so extremely grateful that out of all the single women that my friend knows, that she thought that I would be perfect for him, right? But having said that, I just realized I told her, I said, no, this to me just seems like an issue, a problem, and I'm not going to go after or pursue a guy who can't even just send his picture. Like, what's the big deal? Um, but I'm just saying that as I am moving forward, as I am back in the dating field, I am looking at I'm looking at things through a different lens because I'm not the same person. And my girlfriend said this to me on Saturday because I reached out to her about a situation that I'm in, and she's like, don't go back to the girl you used to be, where she was settling for less. The person that I saw in February when I was in town is not the same person I knew post pre-marriage. You're very different. You're stronger, you're more confident, you know what you're looking for. There's just this light about you. There's this um decisiveness about you. Don't succumb to the person you used to be. I mean, that part of you, just because you feel like you have to be in this situation. You don't. You don't need to do that. So even that, there is that light. And I'm even seeing that when I say, even in my career, my work, um, I'm beginning to see the doors that that are opening. And sorry. And a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, she and I were talking very recently, and I was asking, she offered a service, and I was asking her for the service that she offers, and I was telling her about something that happened um, recently in my professional life. And this person spoke these this beautiful word over my life, and she was almost prophetic with what she was saying. Not that she was almost prophetic. She was prophetic with the words that she was saying. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing that happen. The words that she spoke in my life, I'm seeing it manifest as I sit here and speak. As of right now, as of today, I've seen the manifestation of those words come to pass. And it's made me realize that had I stayed where I was, these doors may not have happened. This manifestation may not have happened. Maybe it would have. I don't know. But I'm just saying that when I was in my situation, when I was going through that hardship, when I was going through every time, let me just rephrase this. Every surgery that I've had, I, during the recovery, I could not see beyond the pain because I would be in excruciating pain. And I've seen what the relief that came with, you know, the surgery that I've had in the past. Like I've seen how it's helped me. But when I was going through the dilapidating pain of recovery, or even prior to the surgery, why I needed to have surgery, as the pain that I was in, I did see beyond it. And then after it, when I've recovered and I'm back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really needed this. I needed this to feel better. I needed this to feel better. Now, I say that to say, now in my life, when I look back at everything I've been through, the pain, the suffering, the questioning, the bad relationship choices, even the jobs that I've had in the past where I'm like, why am I just getting the same jobs over and over and over again? All of these things were bringing me to the point that I am in life, and then the future that I am going to have. And I'm so grateful for it now. But back then, I didn't see where where I could be grateful for, because it was just so hard. And so I say that to say that there's someone out there going through divorce, a bad breakup, a dilapidating, painful illness, um, something that they just can't see beyond what they're going through. And I will say that it sucks right now, and it's going to suck for a little bit longer, but you're going to get out of it, and you're going to be better, and you're going to bloom. If your marriage is ending or it has ended, and you had the type of partner that I had, or the type of marriage that I had, and especially if you are not you were the recipient of the bad treatment, I can guarantee that if you allow yourself time, your life is going to blossom in a way that you could not have imagined. Right? You're going to start to see those open doors. It might not come instantly. It's going to be hard for a little bit. You might have to go back and restart or rebuild, but you're going to get out of it, and you're going to be in a better place. You're going to see there's going to be a glow about you. If you're in that challenging job, one day everything that you're going through is going to you're going to be somewhere where you're going to make up for it. And it's going to be like, oh, I didn't think I'll ever get out of this, but look at me now. There is life after it. There is life after pain and suffering. Keep going. Cry if you have to, whine if you have to. I'm just saying, yeah, there are things I'm looking for. I wish I had more money. I wish, I had a, a man who liked me enough to want to date me. I wish I drove a nicer car. I wish I had my own place. I wish I was sitting on a beach right now, in Seychelles and had some man fan me and feed me grapes. But here I am sitting in my car on my lunch break, recording this podcast. But if I hadn't gone through what I've been through, I wouldn't have a podcast to record. And so those are my little graces. I know this episode is all over the place, but I hope you can make some sense out of it. I hope it encourages somebody. I hope it gives someone hope. I hope that someone shares their story to others and someone is brave enough to speak up and ask for help or assistance or whatever it is. But I hope that whatever I've said today will be worthwhile for someone. So anyways, I'm going to wrap up. Just want to say I'm still in a weird mood today. I'm still in a weird mood. I'm still overthinking some things. I'm in my feelings a little bit. I'm praying for God to take away certain things in my life right now. But I needed to come on here and record. And yeah. So thanks for listening. I love you guys. Subscribe, share this episode with someone you care about. Share my episodes. If you haven't listened to my others, go back, listen to them. I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple Podcast, I am on Amazon, I'm on YouTube. Just go listen to me on your favorite podcast platform, and I'll catch you guys later. I'm out.
Yeah, we done for today.